'89, we had to we went back and retrofitted roller bearings on everything but the mains. So
do they hold up better?
You know, it's one of those things that roller bearings, if everything is good and you have no problem with them, they're better than friction bearing. But you can fix a friction bearing. A roller, on the other hand, you blow a roller bearing out and you're stuck.
Yeah.
And if that's in the middle of nowhere, they're in a.
Is that how they would do that?
They're in the cartridges are built. They have an exterior cartridge that the roller bearings fit into.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it, it's not just axle. It has a shroud around it that holds the bearings in place. But roller bearing engines are also stiffer in corners. So if you're going through turnouts and things like that, they're less forgiving in tight turns.
I got you.
So you got more slop in the friction bearing engines. Let's walk down here.
So you know how like big boys, like most articulated engines, those were a result of like locomotives having. They have like they keep getting bigger, rigid frame engines.
Yeah.
So 484s, 210-2s, 210-4s, and all that. They were getting more rigid on the frame.
And also, both these engines have built in what's called a lateral motion device on. It's different on both of them. This is a Baldwin built product. This is Lima built.
Or Lima if you
Lima,
if you don't
Lima,
know.
around here we call it Lima.
It's always Lima.
You go to
railroad.
But when we converted these, so that's a roller bearing cartridge. And the way that this used to work is this is a tray. Have the sight in it.
The sides pulls out.
You'd pull the whole tray out. You'd have this is basically your oil level indicator. Because when it was all friction bearing, you'd have to service the boxes. So when I say service, you'd be out here with the oil pump can, and it had a mop, what we would call a mop, which was a type of a pad that was three pieces and all sewn together with a foam rubber interior, and the mop's job was to whip oil up onto the axle surface all the time. These, when we converted these jaws, we dropped all of the axles that were still friction bearing.
Yeah.
And what you got there was watch the oil. I have it on here.
Oh, that's okay.
So one at a time, we started with the pilot truck for conversion on that, and that's a different bearing because they're inside bearing cartridges. Where these guys are on the outside of the axle. Mm-hmm. And we just worked our way back. We did all of the tender trucks, all got rollers, and that eliminated us having to worry about dealing with axle issues like a hot box. So
that's why journal boxes were phased out, because roller bearings didn't catch as much.
You remember journal box fires in that era?
Yeah.
That's really the reason the caboose existed.
Yeah.
Is the guys riding in the caboose were watching the train for smoke. You're smelling, you're looking, you're watching.
Yeah.
And they'd end up with journal box fires. It was all they had in them. The freight cars just had cotton waste that had car oil, journal oil, put into it.
So is it considered like packing then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a little cotton packing that they put in there.
Okay.
And railroads always called it waste.
Waste. Okay.
Yeah.
So today you say waste around the railroad yard, and the carman will go, what?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
So if you look up, there's the boiler, and look at all the rivets.
Yeah.
And then you have, I think that's an air tank, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you got your reservoirs on both sides. The other side of these guys too For the modern era, we've got a hole under there where the tray's got a hole cut on it, because the sensors, the hotbox detectors, you had to give them a way to see the bottom of the journal to measure the temperature.
So when you change one, so if you go bad out on line or whatever, how do you get it back in line? I mean, because everything's so heavy. Is there?
Yeah, I mean, when you're on the line like that, and we've had all kinds of problems over the years with the bearings on all the rest of the axles.
I'm sorry.
When you're converted to rollers, I mean, we just have, you're not putting that much mileage on a big engine anymore.
No, but I didn't, with the amount of weight just sitting here, I didn't know if maybe like the outer race or the inner race would take all that weight and then cause one to fracture or have a problem.
We've never had an issue. We'd like to keep going, you watch everything. The thing with the rollers, you can't really roll it.
No, until they go bad.
So this is, I think this is for water and oil?
Loaded, LD,
Loaded. Yeah,
light,
okay.
empty.
Okay.
And
So-
that code on every SP engine, you see the same type of a program.
I always thought this meant like oil, water. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Total weight loaded 394,000 pounds.
Right.
And yeah,
Now, is that just the tender or is that the train in it?
just the tender.
Just the tender.
So, and your script, the weight of the locomotive is, this locomotive is just under 800,000 pounds.
It's heavy. Heavy engine.
But that doesn't mean there's weight on driver. So the 276 is weight, that's your railhead weight, 276,000 pounds on the drivers, okay? Doesn't indicate total weight of locomotive. Total weight of locomotive and tender as a component, 790, something like that. I'd have to go grab my reference again. I have all mine in books. If I had to refer to it, I'd often but the 700 is 10,000 pounds heavier. So, which in the scheme of two engines in the 800,000 pound range is not much.
So, speaking of which, I know I think 2001, this thing was painted black for BNSF to all their EAS.
Right.
Employee Appreciation Special. They painted it in a mix of basically BNSF black, which somewhat SP black.
Let's walk back here. I'll tell you more on that.
So, and the way you can tell where the oil is, you see that line going, and then up. That's where the oil is.
So the politics of you look at company ownership. So BNSF is a company, and in 1999, 2000, this 49 has in post-steam, when Southern Pacific still existed, which was, they merged into UP in 96. So SP as a company, this had a heritage with SP. If we went to California, we went down the SP.
Yeah.
All right.
For like rail fare and stuff, right?
Right. After 96, UP takes over BNSF. UP's got you could call it a company policy, that they have their own steam program, and they refuse to have foreign steam power on their railroad.
That's actually a myth. Because a friend of mine who actually works for UP, he asked one of the guys on the steam team, and he said, "No, that's not true." And I'm like,
he would know.
"Oh yeah, he's the guy who owns this thing."
Yeah, well,
yeah. But,
you know, it's the history has been, if you look at it, Union Pacific as a company, if they say it doesn't exist, they still haven't allowed any. You can't run over the SP with either of these engines or any place else in the country that UP is, right?
Yeah.
They're I've had some people say, well, you guys ran with UP up to Seattle.
Yeah.
I go, true, but the trackage that they ran on was UPS trackage rights. They don't own it.
Right.
So they kind of like, okay, well, we'll do this. That was a Behringer library truck.
Really?
So
I know 49 and 844 double-headed, I think in 2007 along the Puget Sound.
and, yeah, that was going up to Seattle. It's funny that this engine, you would say the 700 had BNSF roots.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that you got out there with this engine was the steam crew behind this one. The company was comfortable with the history
Yeah.
and the crew that they had behind it. They weren't so over here. And you had two separate crews,
Yeah.
so what I tell people is nobody has time for two 484s. You have to specialize. You worry about your side of the program when somebody else has got to worry about the other one. We've got so much stuff in here now. I'm 71 years old. I'm not aspiring to jump out the door with a live steam locomotive every week.
Yeah.
To get on the road, the EAS trip was we had a VP at BNSF that is a friend of ours.
Yeah.
And I'd saying the business shit happens. You get to do it.
Yeah, I would think that it'd be a lot of work to get one of these back out. Just even for a picture shoot to get it out back on the main line, or
I get emails from about what are you guys doing for the 250?
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you're asking me that now?
yeah, a little late.
Late.
Going, in this business, the question about if there was somebody seriously looking at taking a big engine out of the main line, you had to hear about it 2 years in advance.
Oh my God.
Well, just
I was thinking like 6 months.
Because think of the planning they have to do to get this thing out there. Because 4014, it's on its coast-to-coast tour.
and UP, that UP steam crew, that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
They're getting paid to be there. In here, it's had a history because you can afford to work on it with your volunteer crew that wasn't getting paid. If you're having to pay to maintain them, we'd be in trouble. Hey, David. I did. So you had the beer yet? And I would say maybe Doc and Scott moved it to put it back. So, Howard Hammer. Yeah. What do you guys, you were here yesterday, but you got here, you got into town. How'd you get into town?
Empire Builder.
So you took the train. Good.
Yeah, and we're leaving at 4:45 today.
Leaving? Oh, taking.
Like we have to be on board at 4:45. That's
And
why we're stopping.
I live up in the gorge,
Yeah.
Columbia River Gorge, so about 50 miles east at Stevenson. So when I retired, I retired military.
Yeah.
It was Air Force, but I was out at the Portland Air Base my entire career, Oregon Air Guard. So I did when I had leave time. This.
Yeah.
So I did.
Oh,
I started working on the 49 in '78 after he came back from the Freedom Train.
you been here that long?
Yeah.
I think, Doyle's been there longer.
Doyle was there. Well, Doyle, he was part of the Drag It Out of the Park crew.
Yeah.
Where was it located before then?
It was, they moved it out of Oaks Park. And the Oaks Park program, it was just a place that these locomotives existed. It wasn't a pretty picture.
Yeah.
They got abused. You know, there wasn't any security, and even at that
I
time,
bet you people took everything off of them.
oh, there was the cab of the 49, all of them. They were just trashed.
The whistle, the original whistle off this engine is not, I don't think it's been found. I know it's wearing one from a sister engine because that's what they told me yesterday. The whistle that they found on eBay is on this engine. Right
Martin
now.
Hansen, who is our Martin's been around the crew for years, but he's a lawyer over in Bend, Oregon.
Oh.
And Martin's got a builder's plate collection. His house is slowly sinking into the earth. So because all
the
the
weight
stuff
and
he's
everything
got, it's like holy cow. But you know, the builder's plates, you know, everything up there on the boiler, right? But that's the builder number and everything. So
Yeah.
he's got all kinds of.
I mean, that's pretty cool to have for a collector, but it needs to be in a museum so people can understand what it is. Because when he passes away, if his relatives don't know what it is, it could be in up in the scrapyard. You just never know.
That stuff may eventually get here down the road. You know, I'm like I say, I'll turn 71. I kind of look at everything in a 10-year plan anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. Probably even shorter than that, really.
So I'm not seriously looking at going, yeah, 92 will still be down here doing this.
No,
I don't think so. But yeah, it's a whistle-wise, the daylight whistle that's on it, it's it was built for a GS class engine. So it's not my favorite. When I say it's not my favorite, the one that was used to being around the most for years was a Northern Pacific Z8 locomotive.
That was on a Challenger 4664.
Yeah.
And they put it on one of these, and it sounded really good. I know it's gotten
It's
out
on
of
this one now.
yeah. That's the whistle you hear.
The tone is just it's a little lower tone. And the SP engines, with the way that we did this, even back in the Freedom Train, so 1975, Southern Pacific had two forms of rail crossing warning, right? Besides the whistle was train communication for the most part, and the air horn was grade crossing, because the air horn carried so far. It was obnoxious farther than the whistle was.
Yeah.
And in Southern California, you had to, they would get into, especially along the coast route, they had what
I don't
they
need to
called-
hear the whistle.
It was, the LAUPT was good, but
That would have been a heck of a shot right there.
Oh yeah.
they make it sound like it was a race. That's bullshit. It wasn't. It was never a race. I mean, if you look at the UP had there was another diesel back in this
sure
one.
enough. I didn't see that
They
before.
had two diesels. They had an E8
Oh,
and an
we're-
E9.
You go, wait a minute. Steve, shut off all your extra horsepower behind you. We'll see how we do this.
Yeah.
You want to race, we'll find out. But and the fuel load on that, we've got down there. The typical thing on the road is you have to, in the day you've got your oil at every roundhouse. The service facility you pulled in, you could get oil.
Yeah.
Today you have to schedule your tank trucks. Well, we came out of West Colton Yard the night before, and we got to stay LAUPT to West Colton, set the night. We were supposed to have a fuel truck arrive at West Colton to fuel us. Never showed up.
Oh, good Lord.
The SP now became worried that, hey, wait a minute, we can't, if we don't show up, that's bad publicity for our railroad. So their higher ups talking about it, they said, this is what we're going to do. Pull up to the fuel dock up there. We'll put diesel and however much lube oil you want into the fuel bunker. So it's like diesel. Okay, well, diesel puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage for firing, but the lube oil idea was, it was like we're gonna put on 1,000 gallons of nice, clean, internal combustion diesel engine lube oil
In a
the
steam
tank,
locomotive.
in the steam. it'll burn it. But
Yeah.
I'm going, man, what a waste of oil we're doing here. But they just take what you need. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because they wanted to make it look good.
They did.
So what that caused is the diesel burns uphill here. You had to hold a pretty high firing setting, and George pretty much had it wide open, which you almost never get the firing valve wide open. But you know,
Does it make it run hot at that point?
well, what you're trying to do is hold the line on your pressure. So
Yeah.
if you're trying to hold right around 300 psi, and he just opened it and said, well, at that point, it's the only thing that he can affect is sanding it out periodically, and however Doyle handled the power reverse. So anyway,
It
it's
didn't
a
explode.
yeah.
It's a good thing it didn't.
There were more helicopters. You go into Southern California, it turns out there's people everywhere.
That is a tiny, tiny diamond blade down there. So small. I didn't even notice that.
Another little ball. What we don't have in here is an alcohol.
Oh, number 190. That was sold off to Steamtown.
Yeah. Because that was Doyle's personal. You know, all the locomotives, the three bigger engines all belong to the city of Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So
This is what basically a Northern Pacific A-class looks like. Somewhat.
somewhat, it's
Yeah. That's what an A3 would look like.
right. My dad was a career railroader. My dad, my uncle, and my grandfather. But he worked for Northern Pacific Terminal Company. So the NP power was kind of my gig as far as a kid.
I love those old engines. I love them.
This guy that put this together, I mean, it's. I've got two brass models of NPAs in my case.
Do you
at
really?
home, on purpose. It took me a long time to get a GS. I spent all this time working on the 49ers. People would say, well, why don't you have a model of 4449? I said, I haven't been able to get one that I really liked. Because most of the time in the HO scale business, they left so much detail off that I'm going, you're plain Jane in this locomotive. You can do a lot more here than you're doing.
I know Broadway Limited did one. The Bachman one is
Mine is the Bachman's. It's just a toy. The Broadway was, it had to have. You at least had to have some of the apparatus under the cab, and at the front end of the tender. Is, most of your detail you're going to see on that engine is it's in places that you have to know where they are.
right.
So, hey, you guys are welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The fact you made this trip, that's good.
Yeah, that's all he wanted.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I just wanted to come here and see all these things.
It's something he's been wanting to do forever. And again, he made me go, I'm like, we're not going to buy you anything. We're going to just give you a trip. And this is where we ended up. So we got to go see Mount Hood.
Good.
And a few other places around. We went to the coast. But we knew we would have been here every day if we were open every day. But since it's just today, we showed up today. Well, yesterday we showed up just to actually the only reason we showed up is to just try to find it. And then we saw you up on it out. So we stopped.
You guys did the right thing. You got Jeff's attention, right? If I had known we were going to be here, we'd been looking for you, and we get some folks outside the fence that show up on closed days that may only have a few hours in town.
Yeah.
So we try and pay attention to that. But
Yeah. Oh, this is a beautiful place. We love it. We were showing pictures of my wife and my little girl. She's back home. They want to come back. So he was saying something about May the 10th.
May 10th, May 9th, May 10th, I think.
Or
That's
something.
what National Train Day celebration.
Yeah.
9th and 10th, the 10th being Mother's Day.
Yeah.
That's how I get in trouble with
I
my
bet
wife.
you do.
Just bring your wife here. She'd probably love
We'll
it.
let you
You know
drive the
what?
train.
Gabe, all the guys that I've got here that I work with would go, why don't you bring Jackie down? And they laugh. So I'm not sure I'd show up. She might show up and say, I don't know where I lost him, but
Well, thank you very much for showing us around.
all right, Bobby, Gabe.
I see.
Good to see you.
I'll make sure to send. I'll probably send an email to the site. See y'all's email.
So
Okay.
send something to me and I'll put you in my phone book so I've got you. All right?
Absolutely.
So,
Perfect.
you know what we're doing. We're gonna have to. We'll get fired up here, which is a hell of a lot of work for 2 days.
Yeah.
So
That's the best we can do.
Is there any more pictures that you want before we go?
I'll probably get a few more of the engines. I'll probably get a few more of number 1 while I'm at it.
All right, well, hurry up. Appreciate it.
Whatever you want to do.
I'll do it.
Now, then,